Episode 5 of Zero Day begins with Evan Green being freed. Bob calls out George for acting like a dictator, while the public turns against him with rumours of CIA-level torture being inflicted on Green. George tells Sheila how he saw his son try to skateboard and fall. He never gave up and George was proud, but he never told him as he was busy. He wishes things would have been different with Roger, and Sheila comforts him as a result. He tells her not to defend him and tell the truth, as the Oversight Committee has called her to testify against him. Drea threatens Mitchell that he has bipartisan support that she does not. She can't dissolve the commission, but simply hand it to him. She knows he's dangerous as he is also actively running against her, which he doesn't deny. Carl and Valerie wonder if the commission helped in any way, like deterring impending attacks. To make things worse, photos of Anna, Hayes and Green that Lyndon gave Roger are now declared deep fakes. The commission believes Roger felt guilty for waylaying them and killed himself. The committee hearing does take place and Drea keeps attacking George with unproven allegations. Sheila tells the truth the whole time, but all of it paints George in a good light, which Melissa confirms. Roger's funeral then takes place and it's a pretty somber affair. Valerie tries to stop George from attending, but he goes all the same. Once there, a flashback shows him fighting with his son after catching him using drugs. After the funeral, George and Alex have a bittersweet conversation. She calls her brother's death a suicide, but he insists that he actually OD'd. He regrets hurting his family and Roger and wishes he'd actually listened to her in the first place. That night, he writes his resignation letter in his journal. As he flips through it, he finds a letter from Roger. This is actually a transcript of what he heard on the radio and his assumptions of Lyndon's participation in Zero Day. The commission then starts focusing on decoding the messages sent via the radio frequency. Finally, a coder hacks it and reveals they are indeed the Zero Day attackers. We're now up to day 25 and George shares the findings with Mitchell, specifically how the bank attack was not Zero Day but actually copycats. Lyndon has disappeared and the Idaho server farm was theirs. Mitchell tells him about Drea's threat, but does all she can to get George another 24 hours to bring her names. Drea is annoyed and fills in Alex. She's frantic as she can't actually reach George. Desperate, she calls Valerie and insists George needs to update the committee on their findings or quit before they destroy him. Valerie doesn't take her concern seriously and inevitably hangs up. However, they set up a trap the next day. George poses as Lyndon and claims Roger has evidence in his apartment. It's touch and go for a while, but the attackers fall for it. 2 hours before Drea takes over, Leon, aka Blake Felton, shows up at Roger's apartment. Melissa spots something odd in his file, and it turns out he actually works for Kidder. They arrest him and get a search warrant for Kidder. At her home, she refuses to let Carl and his squad in. Instead, she live streams and mocks George for his forceful and illegal methods. George knows this is a trap as the public is waiting for Carl to force his way in. We see that Kidder is stalling as she tries to get in contact with the Zero Day attackers. Turns out they've actually cut her loose, and desperately, she calls George and Valerie. She tells them she'll talk, but only with full immunity. If they don't agree, she'll reveal that Valerie's daughter, Lily, is George's. Everyone is shocked, but before they can make a decision, shooters from Kidder's home attack Carl's squad. Kidder is confused as she has not actually ordered the attack. Carl is shot in the chaos, and this gives the squad leeway to enter the home and arrest Kidder. Given this mad turn of events, Mitchell is relieved with the breakthrough as the squad find evidence that Kidder's company, Panoply, bought and spread the Zero Day malware. The investigation is over and the public rejoices as a result. They believe it's revenge because the government was investigating Panoply for violating antitrust laws. Just then though, Jeremy gets a call and decides to visit New York. However, Alex panics and begs Drea to shut something down. He tells her to go through the proper channels and we see her pull out a radio and tune into a channel. George goes home and thanks Sheila for being by his side. However, he knows Kidder is not the end of it and she is simply the fall guy. And unfortunately he's right as Valerie calls with a distressing update. And at the end of episode 5, we find out that Kidder has been hanged in her prison cell. So the penultimate episode of this series wraps up most of the mystery and leaves one final question for the finale. Is the government behind Zero Day? It certainly subverts all expectations and also makes us wonder if Evan Green was right all along, except he got the guy wrong. Instead of George, looks like it was Drea who orchestrated the attack so he could get his hands on the power that comes with leading the commission. With that power then going to George, Drea must have brought in Proteus to make him look incompetent so he could sweep in and save the day. But it makes us curious about how Alex is involved and if she knows about Proteus. This Proteus plot twist has been pretty clever, and since the first episode we have actually had clues about who are involved. Anyone who has ever mentioned George's mental state is very likely the one who is behind the attack or knows about it, including Natan, Jeremy, Kidder, Alex Linden and Evan Green. All that's left now is to see how this one is going to play out in the end. Thanks for watching, and do let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Smash a like or subscribe to the channel, your support is very much appreciated. I'm Greg Wheeler, and from all of us over here at The Review Geek, we'll see you on the next video.